I spent $9,000 on flights, dinners, and a hotel block so my family could attend my book launch. No one came. Instead, my brother posted, "Good luck with your little hobby." My aunt texted, "Let us know when you're published for real." So I got angry and later canceled the rent subsidy I'd been quietly sending for 3 years. Their landlord called me the next morning. I said, "Not my lease anymore." A week later. I always thought the family stories on Reddit were overblown. Embellished, at least. The ones where a cousin steals someone's inheritance, or a mother-in-law demands to name the baby. I used to read them and think, okay, but no one actually lives like this. Then it happened to me, and now I realize I was giving people too much credit. Because my family? They'd make the front page of our /raised by narcissists, and our /petty revenge in one post. It all started with my book. For most of my adult life, I wrote in silence. Nights after work. Weekends. Vacations that weren't vacations. I didn't post about it, didn't ask for attention. I just wanted to finish something that mattered. Something I could put my name on. When I finally landed a small publisher and got the green light for a real book launch, I decided to go big. Not flashy big, but meaningful. I booked a venue in Manhattan. Hired a photographer. Got catering. It was expensive, but I figured, you only publish your debut once. I covered everything. Flights from Ohio. Hotel rooms. Dinner reservations. $9,000 total. All so that my mom, my brother Daniel, and my Aunt Linda could be there to witness the night I'd worked toward for over a decade. I even made little name cards for their seats. The day before the event, I messaged them to confirm everything. No reply. I assumed flights got in late. Maybe they were tired. The day of, I woke up early, checked my phone, still nothing. Janice told me not to spiral, said they'd probably show up last minute and make a scene. They didn't. I waited. We kept delaying the start of the event. Janice kept checking the front. I pretended not to notice the 3 empty chairs in the front row with name tags that might as well have been tombstones. Eventually I had to get up and speak. Afterward I sat in a back room with a drink and finally looked at my phone again. A message from Daniel, "Good luck with your little hobby." An hour later, Aunt Linda texted, "Let us know when you get published for real." My mother? Nothing. Not a word before or after. I sat there for a long time. Angry didn't even cover it. I felt humiliated, but more than that, I felt stupid. Because what they didn't know, what I'd never told them, was that for 3 years I'd been covering 1/3 of their rent every month. Quietly. No announcements, no credit. Just wiring it over to their landlord, Victor, because Daniel couldn't hold a job, Linda had endless medical expenses, and my mother said she was managing. That night, in the middle of a 5-star hotel room I'd paid for, staring at untouched gift bags I'd left at the concierge for them, I opened my laptop and emailed Victor. I told him, plainly, starting next month, I will no longer be covering the rent for the tenants at address. Please notify them accordingly. Victor called the next morning. Said he just wanted to make sure. I told him, this is no longer my rent. That was it. A week later, they were evicted. No calls. No emails. No apologies. Nothing. Just silence. Like they'd vanished. I almost convinced myself that was the end of it. It wasn't. 10 days after the eviction notice went out, I was finally starting to feel like I could move past it. I'd stopped checking my phone obsessively, stopped thinking about what I should have said that night after the book event. I even started a draft for my second book. It felt good to write again, like I was reclaiming space in my own head. Then came the knock. It was around 9:30 at night. Not a delivery time. Not casual. It was heavy, deliberate, like someone wanted the whole neighborhood to know they were there. When I opened the door, I didn't need to guess. It was them. Daniel, holding a duffel bag like a college freshman. And Linda dragging a suitcase with a broken wheel that screeched every time it moved. My mother stood behind them, arms crossed, eyes scanning past me into the house like she was already planning where to sit. Daniel didn't even pause. "We need to stay here. Just a week. We've got nowhere else right now. It's temporary." I just stared. It wasn't shock. It was disbelief that they had the nerve to show up at all, let alone unannounced, with luggage, like it was some kind of weekend retreat. Then Janice came around the corner. She didn't ask who it was. She could hear them from upstairs. She pulled me into the hallway and said, "Don't make a scene. Just 1 week. We'll set boundaries." I didn't want them in. Every part of me wanted to shut the door and lock it. But I nodded. I still don't know why. Maybe part of me needed to see how far they'd go. So I told them, 1 week. After that, you're out. No discussion. Daniel said. Fair. Like we were signing a lease. They walked in without waiting for an invitation. From the first night, it was off. Daniel asked for the Wi-Fi password before he even asked where he was sleeping. Linda called dibs on the guest room because of her spine condition, so Daniel ended up on the living room couch. My mom took the recliner and made a passive comment about how I should have arranged proper sleeping accommodations if I expected them to rest properly. They ate our food. Changed the TV settings. Daniel complained we didn't have real streaming subscriptions. Aunt Linda told Janice she overcooked the chicken the second night. My mom asked if I could move my car so her Uber Eats driver could park in the driveway. Not one of them mentioned the book event. Not once. It was like it didn't happen. No apology. No explanation. Just total avoidance. Like if they didn't bring it up, maybe it would disappear. By the 4th day, Janice had reached her limit. She stopped trying to play hostess. She'd come home from work, go straight to our bedroom, and stay there. I found Daniel wearing my hoodie and using my personal laptop to stream basketball. I told him to get out of my office. He didn't move. He just looked at me and said, "Still mad about that whole book thing?" That was it. That night I laid it out. Told them they had until the end of the 5th day, and after that, I wanted them gone. No excuses. Daniel said fine, he had plans anyway. Aunt Linda gave Janice a speech about family being a lifelong bond. And my mom just sat quietly, like none of this was happening to her. Day 5, they didn't even pack until after dinner. Linda asked if we could loan them just $1,000 to help get set up at our Aunt Marie's place. Daniel said it like it was obvious. It's just $1,000. You make plenty. I told them no. I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I just said no. They left in silence. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't thank us for the 5 days. Just walked out the door and down the street, dragging that squeaky suitcase and carrying whatever pity they could still hold on to. As soon as the door shut, Janice sat on the stairs and said, "Next time, we don't let them in." There wouldn't be a next time. But I didn't say that. I just stood there, staring at the now empty guest room, thinking how they never even asked how the book launch went. The house was finally clean. It wasn't just the dishes or the clutter they'd left behind, it was the air. It no longer felt invaded. Janice started sleeping through the night again. I was cooking real meals, not frozen ones. The silence in the house actually felt earned for once. Then I got a call from Aunt Marie. She's not part of the usual trio. She's always kept her distance. Lives in a condo in Jersey with her cats and likes her life quiet. So when I saw her name on the screen, I assumed someone died. Her voice came through tight and low. "Norman, they're here." I didn't even need to ask who. They showed up with bags. I didn't know what to do. "Daniel said you told them they could stay here." I nearly laughed out loud. "He what?" "He said you were handling things and they just needed a few days off the grid." She sighed. "They've already eaten half my groceries and Daniel somehow programmed my TV in Spanish." I asked her if she needed help getting them out. She said she'd figure it out. She always did. I thought that was the end of it until 2 nights later. Around 11:45, my phone buzzed. Group text. Daniel, Aunt Linda, and my mom were all on it. Daniel started it off. "Hey. We're gonna be out of Marie's. She's being weird. We'll figure it out, but we need $1,000. Just to keep moving. We'll pay you back." Then came Linda. "We're not asking for a handout. Just a loan. Think of it as temporary." And then the cherry on top, my mother reacted to both messages with a heart emoji. No words. Just digital silence dressed up as love. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, a Venmo request came through. $1,000 from Daniel. Description: family help, temporary. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. The next morning, Janice was already up when I came downstairs. She looked out the window and said, "You should see this." There, tucked under the windshield wiper of my car, was a folded takeout menu from a diner 10 blocks away. On the back, scrawled in thick blue marker, We're still your family. Stop acting like a stranger. This isn't how we were raised. No name. No signature. Just that. I checked the security camera. Around 2:14 a.m., someone walked up the driveway. Hoodie up. Couldn't see the face. But the way they moved, it had Daniel's arrogance written all over it. It wasn't a message. It was a warning. They weren't just broke. They were spiraling. Marie texted me later that day that they'd left without notice. Took half a pack of steaks from her freezer, and one of her cats hadn't come back inside since. Then Victor, the landlord I'd stopped wiring money to, called out of the blue. I assumed it was about something else, but nope. He said he got a call from Daniel earlier, asking if I'd restarted the payment arrangement. Said they were trying to move back in. Victor said he figured he'd check before answering. I told him the truth. I haven't spoken to them in days. If they're calling you, that's their problem now. He just said, "Got it," and hung up. That night, Janice locked every door twice. I didn't tell her, but I moved a baseball bat next to the bed. Because I had a feeling they weren't going to stop at texts and takeout menus. I should have known they weren't finished. The texts, the Venmo request, the takeout menu on the windshield, they weren't random acts. They were test runs. Feeling for cracks. It was Saturday, early May. The weather had that false calm where nothing feels urgent, but everything's waiting to happen. I woke up to an alert from the front porch camera. 6:17 a.m. I checked the footage while the coffee brewed. It was Daniel. Standing still on the porch like he was thinking about knocking, but never did. He had his hood up, hands deep in his jacket, pacing a little, like he wanted to be caught but not confronted. After 23 minutes, he left. Never looked at the camera once. Janice came down and saw the frozen frame on the screen. She said, "We need to get out of the house today. Breathe real air." She wasn't wrong. The house had started to feel like a bunker. We left around 11 a.m., walked through the local farmer's market, bought overpriced bread we didn't need, even talked about a trip. For the first time in days, we felt normal. That lasted exactly 4 hours. When we came back, I noticed the back gate was open. Not wide. Just slightly ajar, like someone forgot to close it fully. I always closed it. Always. Inside, everything looked normal at first. The living room untouched. Kitchen fine. But then I noticed something off. The top drawer in the hallway cabinet was open. That drawer hadn't been touched in months. I looked inside. A bunch of tax papers had been rifled through. Some envelopes were torn open. A folder labeled "Mortgage" was missing. We moved fast after that. Checked every room. Janice found that one of her coats was missing from the hall closet. My winter parka, the one I used to wear before I got a better one, also gone. They'd been inside. Not to steal, not to destroy. To remind us. Janice called the police. While she was on the phone, I walked around the side of the house. The birdhouse. I don't know why it hit me then. Years ago, when we first moved in, we used to keep a spare key underneath it, in a plastic film canister. I lifted the birdhouse. The canister was gone. When the cops arrived, I already knew what they'd say. No sign of forced entry. Probably someone with a key. I told them who it probably was. The officer asked, "Do you have proof they were inside?" "No cameras in the house," I said. "Well," he replied, "there's not much we can do unless they come back. And they probably will." That night was different. Janice didn't just look tired, she looked resigned. Around 10, she said, "I let them in that first night. I thought I was being decent. You warned me. You did. And now we're locking doors inside our own house." She didn't say it like she wanted forgiveness. She said it like she was done forgiving. I opened my laptop and typed out the kind of message you only send once. It went to every family member who had ever asked for a favor, a ride, a wire transfer. I spelled it out. I'd paid Daniel and Linda's rent for 3 years. I flew them to New York. They ghosted my book launch and called it a hobby. They broke into my house. They stole from me. And from now on, they were strangers. Most didn't reply. A few read the message and said nothing. One cousin, Blake, sent a single thumbs up emoji. 2 days later, I had the locks changed. Every single one. Janice called a lawyer her boss recommended, and we started putting together a no-contact notice. It was mostly symbolic, but it gave us something to do. Something to claim back our space. Weeks passed. No new texts. No late-night visits. No mystery notes. Until the envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note, folded 3 times. On it, 6 words. You made this a war. Fine. No signature. But the handwriting was Daniel's. I stared at the note for a long time. 6 words. That's all it took to drag everything back to the surface. You made this a war. Fine. Janice didn't want to see it at first. Said maybe it was old? I handed it to her anyway. She read it once, didn't say a word, and walked it straight to the shredder. I didn't shred mine. I kept it in the drawer next to my desk. Not out of fear. Just as a reminder. The next week, we didn't hear a thing. No texts. No knocks. No mysterious footsteps on the porch. It felt like a standoff. Like both sides were waiting for the other to move. Then I got a call from the HR department at my job. Someone had called in an anonymous tip about me. Said I was using company time to promote my side business. Writing. That I'd been caught using company resources for personal profit. The complaint was detailed. Specific. They'd mentioned dates I was out of office, URLs to writing groups I belonged to, screenshots from my author website. All of it. It was complete garbage. I don't write during work hours. Never have. I don't even access my author email on my work laptop. But the damage was done. I had to sit through a compliance interview. My manager had to document the incident, even though they said they knew it was nonsense. When I asked if they could trace the complaint, they told me it came through an encrypted form online. No name. But I didn't need one. I knew exactly who sent it. Janice told me to let it go. But I couldn't. Because now they weren't just messing with our space, they were trying to go after my livelihood. The thing they mocked as a hobby was suddenly something serious enough to attack. I contacted the lawyer again. Asked what options I had. He said if I could link them to the complaint, maybe something could be done. Otherwise, it would be hard to prove intent. I didn't sleep much that week. 2 days later, Janice got a call. Unknown number. Voicemail. It was my mother. She didn't say where she was. Just that she'd been praying we would forgive each other and come back together. She said she knew there had been misunderstandings, and that I'd acted out of anger. She said Daniel and Linda were struggling, and I had to remember we were blood. Janice saved the voicemail. Played it for me once, then deleted it. That night, our trash bin was turned over. Nothing taken. Just dumped out and left in the middle of the driveway. I watched the footage from the porch cam. Same hooded figure. Same stance. But this time, they looked directly at the camera. Just for a second. Then turned and walked into the dark. I didn't react right away to that look into the camera. I replayed it a few times, watching the way Daniel stared, unblinking, right into the lens. He wasn't hiding. He was letting me know he was still out there, still circling, still convinced I owed him something. That note, "You made this a war. Fine. Wasn't a metaphor. It was a declaration. And I finally understood what I was dealing with. The next morning, Janice said it clearly. They're not going to stop. You need to stop them. So I did. First, I moved our home security system to a private cloud storage. Real-time backup. Extra cameras. One facing the backyard, one above the garage. Then I contacted an old friend from college who went into private security work. I told him everything, details I hadn't told Janice, even. Every wire transfer. Every favor. Every time they crossed the line and I kept my mouth shut. He said, "This isn't family. This is a case file." He referred me to a licensed PI. Within 2 days I had a folder with everything. Daniel and Linda had been squatting in a condemned duplex near Newark. Literal plywood on the windows, no electricity. They were getting water from a neighbor's hose. They'd scammed their way into a side entrance, and were sleeping on mattresses they found on the curb. Daniel had a burner phone registered under a fake name. He'd been trying to contact people we knew, old coworkers, classmates, distant relatives. Spinning some story about me. Cutting them off after getting rich. And turning his back on family for fame. Fame? My book hadn't even cracked 4 figures in sales. My mother, the PI confirmed, had quietly moved to Allentown. Was staying with a cousin I barely knew. She hadn't told Daniel or Linda. That said a lot more than I expected from her. I printed the report and attached copies to 2 formal cease and desist letters. One for Daniel. One for Linda. Legal language. Cold and precise. I listed everything: their texts, the footage, the note, the Venmo requests. I even included a screenshot of Daniel staring into our camera with the timestamp highlighted. Janice signed them with me. We mailed them certified, return receipt required. But I wasn't done. I sent a copy of the PI's findings to their old landlord, Victor, the one who had to eat the cost of their eviction. I didn't suggest anything. I just sent the photos, the address, and a note: thought you'd want to know who's living at 2819 Hillcrest. Victor called me that night. He just said, "Appreciate it," and hung up. I knew what that meant. I also knew it wasn't going to fix the past. Nothing would. But I'd drawn the line now. Clearly, legally, publicly. That same week, Janice and I took off. 6 days upstate in a cabin. No service, no email, no cameras. Just books, walks, and a fireplace that took too long to light. We didn't talk about them once. When we got back, I checked the security footage. Nothing. No alerts. No movement. No notes. Just wind and birds and the occasional delivery guy dropping off a package on our porch. I waited for something. A reaction. A reply. But there was only silence. Until the final package arrived. No return address. Small white box. Inside was my old hoodie, the one Daniel had stolen while he stayed with us. Folded neatly, sealed in a Ziploc bag. No note. Just a scrap of paper with one word on it. Fine. That was 2 months ago. I haven't heard from any of them since. But I still check the cameras every morning. Not because I'm afraid. But because I know how stories like this end. And mine isn't over yet. First update. It's been quiet. Too quiet, if I'm being honest. After everything, Daniel's stunt with the camera, the break-in, the harassment, the fake HR report, and that bizarre final package, I expected some dramatic encore. But there's been nothing. Until last Thursday. I got an email from a lawyer I didn't recognize. The subject line just said, "Request for mediation, estate matters." I assumed it was spam, but I opened it anyway. Inside was a scanned letter, real stationery, real signature, stating that my uncle, my father's estranged brother, had passed away. I hadn't spoken to him in over 15 years. Apparently, he had no spouse, no kids, and a will that had been sitting untouched for almost 2 years. His estate was small but included a house in Vermont, a dusty savings account, and somehow, my name. Just mine. Not Daniel. Not Linda. Not even my mother. The lawyer said my uncle had followed my writing quietly. That he'd even attended my book launch. Sat in the back. Never said anything, just came and went. I still don't know if I believe that part. He left a note with the will. It was 2 lines long. "You're the only one who ever finished something. Take this. Do something good." I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I don't know what good means anymore, but I know this: for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was being hunted. I felt seen. Not forgiven, not healed, but seen. I'm going to drive up there next week. Just me. Janice said she'll join me once I get the place sorted. I think we need that. Something fresh. Something real. I know this whole saga has been bleak. And I know Reddit's not exactly a sanctuary for happy endings. But if you've followed all this, if you've read every insane twist and wondered how people could do this to their own, just know, I'm wondering the same thing. Every day. But maybe this next chapter doesn't involve them at all. Maybe the next update won't be about lawyers, or locks, or threats. Maybe next time, I'll be writing from a porch in Vermont, coffee in hand, silence all around. And if it is, I'll start it with something simple. Something good finally happened.